learning English but find it difficult, confusing, even mysterious? Are you an English teacher but find English grammar easier to use than to explain? Well, don't worry. On this show, I'll be your language detective. I'll answer your questions about the English language and help you solve these English mysteries. It's Hard-Boiled English Live. Hi everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Paul, Teacher Paul or Paul Duke. I am your host, English instructor, English tutor, language coach, and language investigator or detective. Welcome to Hard-Boiled English Live. Broadcasting to you live from the Hard-Boiled English Media Studios right here in Vancouver, Canada. For those of you who don't know, Vancouver is on the west coast of Canada, basically right above Los Angeles by many hundred kilometers. The format of this show is really simple, guys. I answer your questions about English. Don't ask me too much about other things, but sometimes language is connected to other things, culture, for example. But for the most part, I'd like you to ask me questions about English, and I'll do my best to answer them. So once we get going here, once people join us, I'd like you to type in your comments, ask your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. As we get going, we'll see who pops up. I'd also like you to say hello and type in the comments where you're watching from. It's always very interesting to watch or to see where all the viewers and friends around the world are. So say hello and type in the country you're in or the city. Before we get started, I just want to say a few things as I usually do. Today I had a very interesting conversation with another educator in the US. A lot of Americans are feeling very relieved now that they have a new president and maybe a new direction for their country. And this educator has been working hard to reach out to her students around the world. And I know a lot of students around the world and their families have been watching what's going on in the US. And hopefully the new presidency, the new administration gives you excitement about visiting the US once we're through the pandemic. I'm not in the US, I'm in Canada. And I hope that you would consider both the US and Canada to come and study English if you're learning about English. On the other hand, if you don't want to travel or if you can't travel, what I did come away with my conversation with this teacher today, her name is Teacher Karen. Hello, Karen, down in Virginia at the moment. What we both agreed on was that the pandemic has shown us that teaching online is a very, very important and viable new way of connecting with our students. And teachers like Miss Karen and myself are working hard to connect to you guys. It's one of the reasons I do this live show every week, is to connect to people that maybe can't travel for financial reasons, because of the pandemic, whatever the case. What I want to tell you is that there are lots of great teachers out there online. And if you need help, reach out to them, right? These are people that can help you with your speaking, your reading, your writing, presentations, your essays, resumes, writing emails for business. Get help. There's lots of help out there. And there's lots of opportunities to work with these teachers. So if you're in a country where you can't practice English, hire a tutor, hire a teacher. They can really help you. And if you're planning to study abroad, connect with these people. Connect with myself, Teacher Karen, frequent co-host and guest Anish Dea from On the Spot Language in Toronto. These are great educators who really care about helping you improve your English. So reach out. This is a great new way to learn. Live shows, videos on YouTube, and so on. These are all great ways to connect. So connect with your teachers and tutors and meet, right? Sometimes it's going to cost a little money, but it's an investment in your success. These teachers can really help you go up in your grades, go up in your chances at a good job, get help. For those of you who don't know me, let me just catch you up to date. I'm an English instructor in Vancouver, Canada. doing a lot of work online these days. I'm also the creator of a video series. So I have a YouTube channel called Teacher Paul's Hard-Boiled English. And on that channel, I have several different video series. One series is my long-form series called English Weirdness. English Weirdness is 30-minute episodes where we explore strange parts of English grammar and structure. So check that out. There's 10 episodes, well, 9, and number 10 will be out soon. And these videos I make with my students. So these are not professional. These are entirely student productions. There's a new series I'm developing. I have one episode so far called English Confidential. In this series, I don't examine strange parts of English that learners struggle with. In this series, I examine ways that native speakers use English in a strange way that can be very confusing for English learners. So incorrect or inaccurate or strange expressions that native speakers use. As I mentioned earlier, I'm also available for private lessons. So if you do need help with reading, writing, speaking, grammar, vocabulary, essays, resumes, whatever it is you need help with, maybe test preparation, don't hesitate to contact me. I am available. Okay. The one more thing I want to mention is that on today's show, for the first half hour, I will take your questions. And the second half hour, I'd like to bring a very special guest in. Her name is Maha. She's a teacher and educator who lives in Canada. And she's got a lot to say about preparing for IELTS, for example, and also developing speaking skills. So Maha will join us a little bit later on. For the moment, let's check our chat line and see who's joining us. We have Hamid Al-Riyami. Hi, Hamid. Hamid, where are you from? Can you tell us your country? We have Wako from Japan. Oh, Hamid is joining us from Oman. Well, welcome to Oman. Great to have you with us. We have Aiko M. She's from Canada. We have Maha. Maha's tuning in from Toronto. So this is our guest. Maha will get you the link right away, but you don't need to jump in and stand by for another 25 minutes or so. We have Tirath. Tirath is joining us from Nepal. Now, for those of you who don't know where Nepal is, it's where the Himalayas are, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, from where I am, Nepal is on almost the exact other side of the world. So Tirath, it's great to have you with us. It's very fascinating to see all the different countries that are representing with us. So thank you for joining us, guys. Now, I have a question that was sent to me earlier today on Facebook. So some people can't join the live show, but they have questions, or maybe they've joined us before. And so they give me questions. So I'm going to start with the question they asked. Oh, we have Chris joining us. Chris, what country are you in? Can you just type the name of your country? Can we put the caption up that says hello and what country you're in? Yeah, that one. Great. So guys, when you join the show, please say hello and tell us what country you're in. That's really helpful to us. Okay, yes. Maha, I'm being asked to tell you to, if you don't mind, switch over to YouTube. For some reason, we have problems getting the link over to you through Facebook. If you don't mind, Maha, please switch over. Just go to my YouTube channel, and you should see this show broadcasting there. It's somehow, I don't know, we've had trouble with that, and I haven't resolved that problem yet. Chris is from Mexico. Welcome, welcome, Mexico. So we've got Mexico in the house. We've got Oman. We've got Nepal. We've got Japan. We've got Toronto. We've got Canada. Who else is joining us? Say hello to us. Okay, I'm going to start with the first question. And again, this was sent to me. So guys, if you haven't already, I recommend going to my YouTube channel, Teacher Paul's Hard-Boiled English Live. This show is broadcast there every week. You can also see my videos there and stay up to date with any news bulletins. You can also go to my Facebook page, which is Teacher Paul's Hard-Boiled English, or find me, Paul Duke, on Facebook. and connect with me there. And you can send questions to me there that I can put on the show. So this question was sent to me earlier today. It's about the letter C. Let's pop this one up. So this person's asking me, we use C at the beginning of some words, right? And sometimes the sound is soft, S sound, S. And sometimes the sound is hard, K, like a K, K. So the two examples they gave me were cow, and certain. So this sound is the soft sound, which is essentially like an S, certain. And this one is the hard sound, which is basically like a K, cow, S, K, different sounds. And they're asking, how do they know which sound to make? The answer is a little bit simple, and you may not like me when I give you simple answers because the rule or the answer might be simple, but using it and remembering to use it in speaking is the challenge. Well, if you look at the next letter, so we have C here and here, that's identical. What's different is the next letter. So here we have E, right? And here we have O. And these are both vowels. A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y. These are the vowel sounds in English. So there doesn't seem to be a pattern. We have C and then a vowel, C and then a vowel. Well, there is a pattern among all these words. I'll put it up here because it's a little bit simpler. If the next sound is an E sound, or any E sound, the letter E, or an I, or a Y, it's a soft sound. So, for example, I can think of cycle, I sound. Anyone out there know a CI spelling of a word? Any examples you can think of? CI. Well, circumstance, right? S, soft sound. Cycle. So here the Y is being used like a vowel. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's used like a consonant. For example, the word yard. It's being used more like a consonant with a vowel after it. But here it's being used as a vowel sound. Cycle, circumstance, certain. So E-I-Y as vowel, soft C. And then the other sounds here. Car, right? We have A-E-I-O. How about U? How about curtain, right? The drapes in your window. Curtain. So that's basically the pattern, right? So in summary, for the soft C sound, you're looking at the next letter being E, I, or Y, used as a vowel. And here, O, A, or U. That's that. Now, the trick, of course, is to remember that when you're speaking live, right? That's the challenge with these things. Who else do we have joining us? We have, Tireth, cigar. That's a good example for this. Cigar, right? C-I, cigar, cigarette, the soft C sound. Chris has a good question here, lie versus lay. It's a good question. Let's pop that one up, lie versus lay. So this is related to a very troublesome grammar topic, which is verb transitivity. Can you check the graphics and see if we have the poster for that episode of Weirdness? Maybe not, right? The first thing I'll say about this, Chris, is I'm going to give you a pretty short answer here, but I'd like you to learn more about this topic, verb transitivity. It's extremely important for several reasons. One, it relates to the way you use the verb, but it also relates to the way you use the object after the verb, and it also relates to how you choose to use or not to use prepositions. And Chris, if you're in Mexico, it sounds like you're a Spanish speaker. And for Spanish speakers, when they're learning English, prepositions are a nightmare. Actually, for most language groups, prepositions are a nightmare. So if you want to learn about preposition use, which you should, it's not just about preposition use. You have to learn about the verb before it. And it's all related to transitivity. So I recommend going to Hardboiled English Live, Teacher Paul's Hardboiled English YouTube channel and look for the episode of English Weirdness about verb transitivity. It's the most recent episode. It's part 1 of a 2-part episode, but it explains transitivity in depth. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a simple version of this. So let's use an example like this. Let's use past tense. He lied. He lied. Now, when you're confused by a sentence, I recommend always identifying the parts. I call this the breakdown technique. You should always know what the words are doing in the sentence. So, for example, he lied. We have a subject. And what's that? Of course, it's the verb. We have a period. So this is a short sentence. It's actually a full sentence, though. It's a subject and a verb. It's a clause. So it's a legitimate sentence. It's a complete idea. That's what a clause is. A clause is made of a subject and a verb, and it expresses a complete idea. Now, it's a simple idea, but it's complete. He lied. And the meaning is, he told an untruth. He said something that wasn't true. Now, what you'll notice is there's no object. No object. And you don't need one. Okay? This is an intransitive verb. This is an intransitive verb. It does not need an object. Its meaning is complete without it. Okay? That's intransitive. Now, the next verb, lay, and by the way, we'll come back to this. Lie has 2 meanings. So let's make a separate sentence here. Okay, this is the other meaning you probably know, especially in Mexico, where there are some beautiful beaches. So he lied on the beach. Does that mean he told untruth? It could, right? It could. But look at the structure. We have subject. We have verb. We don't have an object, though. We have a preposition and the place where the preposition is connected to. So that's a prepositional phrase. It tells us where he lied. Now, this in this meaning, lied is stretched flat on the beach, right? So it's really an adverb. It's a preposition phrase acting as an adverb. It tells us where he lied. It could mean he told an untruth, but I think the context tells us more information and gives us the second meaning, which is he lied, okay? You could even say he lied down. So 2 meanings, but the grammar is the same. In both cases, lied is intransitive, doesn't need an object. Okay, let's look at lay. Lay needs an object. Lay is a transitive verb. It needs an object. You have to lay something. You have to lay something. Things are nouns. Nouns are objects. Okay? He lay something. Now, we can share this meaning. We could say he lay, or let's use past tense, himself. He laid himself. So we have a subject, a transitive verb. Transitive verb needs a direct object. It's got to have one, right? Otherwise, the meaning is not complete. Transitive verb gets its meaning from taking the subject and transmitting an action to the object. He laid himself. Now, he can lay himself on the beach. Now, that just tells us where, but he laid himself. Or, Teacher Paul laid the pen on the table. I laid the pen on the table. That's a transitive idea. My action is transmitted, to the pen. If I don't have an object, I don't complete the meaning. I can't say, I laid on the table. Doesn't make sense. So lay is a transitive verb. You have to lay something. Okay? And this is where it gets confusing. They can share the meaning because you can lay yourself on the beach, right? And you can lie on the beach. But there are other verbs that are less confusing. For example, the verb enjoy. Enjoy is a transitive verb. You can't say, I enjoyed. And you can't say, I like. You like what? You enjoyed what? That what question that pops up is because there's no object, and those verbs need an object. Some verbs need an object to complete their meaning. In English, like and enjoy are transitive verbs. They need objects. You have to like something. You just can't walk around liking. I like, it's what I do. I like. Doesn't make sense in English. Chris, I hope that answers the question, but I would encourage you to check out the video about verb transitivity. So in summary, with lie, you don't need an object. With lay, you need an object. You need an object. Okay, let's say hello to some folks joining us now. Abir from Bangladesh is joining us, I think. So Tirith has a good example here. Lay the bag on the ground. That's a good sentence. Tirith, lay the bag on the ground. You have to lay the bag. Lay is the verb, bag is the object. You have to lay something on the ground, right? So we're not using lie, right? Because you can't lie the bag. Lie is not transitive. It's intransitive, which means it cannot have a direct object. You can't lie the bag. You can lie. Yourself is the thing that's doing the action, right? Okay. We have Juan Manuel from Argentina. It's summer here and it's extremely hot. Well, thanks for joining us, Juan Manuel from Argentina. That's far away too, like Nepal. Here in Canada, some parts of the country are really cold and snowy. I'm on the west coast, so it's not that cold. Usually at this time of year, it's just kind of cool and it rains a lot. Abir is from Bangladesh. Yes, I thought so. Abir's question? Yeah, let's pop that up. Yeah, so Abir, this is a good question because this is also related to verb transitivity. Let's say, is also sometimes the same word can have different meanings. Sometimes you see this meaning, she lighted. Let's be realistic here. The bird lighted on the house. So this meaning is the bird landed on the house. It's a bit of an old-fashioned meaning, but you still might hear it on TV or in a book or something. She lighted on the house. She lit the house on fire. That means she burned the house. This action affected the house. This is subject, verb, object. This is transitive and past tense. What does it mean? It means she lit a fire, right? She lit a fire. If we have another meaning like this, the house was lit. Now that kind of sounds like it's on fire. But what if we want to express that the lights were on? Well, we can say Lighted, right? The lights were active on the house. The house was lighted. So this isn't so much a grammar difference. This is a meaning difference. I suggest looking it up in the dictionary and noticing the different definitions. Dictionaries are indispensable, guys. You've got to learn to use dictionaries. And I do recommend the paper ones more than the online versions. Because when you look at your online dictionary in your phone, you look up the word light, you're going to see one word. But when you're looking through the dictionary, right, the good old Oxford, nice big fat dictionary, if I'm looking for the word light, I have to go through many pages and look at all these different words to find it. While you're doing that, your eye and your brain are noticing a lot of words. You learn more. You take in these words. So I still think this is a better use, a better way to learn than the old, than the new way to learn, which is the online dictionary. Now, this is better when you're on the bus or the train. So I encourage you to look up those words and find out the meaning differences, the definitions. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question. Let's pop that up. Maha, if you're there, we still don't see you popping up on YouTube yet, so we can't get you the link. So please say hello from YouTube if you're on it already. Maha, please. Okay, we have another question popping in here from Wako. Let's see Wako's question. So the question here is, what silent letters exist for, like P for raspberry? So I think what Wako is asking is, why? Why do we need a spelling rule like this? Right? Why? Why the hell do we spell it like that? One thing I would... oh, sorry, she's English O Canada. There she is. English O Canada is Maha. So one thing to remember about English, guys, some languages are designed. For example, Korean's language, which is Hangul. There was a period in the Middle Ages where the king of Korea actually wanted a new language that all the people could understand. A very simple to learn a very simple to learn language for the Korean people, many of whom were poor, uneducated farmers. But the king wanted everyone to speak the same language and be able to read and write it. So he talked to one of his scholars and said, make me a new language. So that scholar went off and he designed Hangul, the Korean language. He designed it from the beginning, one person. So all the rules are designed to work in Korean. So maybe it's an easy language to learn. I don't know. English was not like that. Nobody sat down and designed English and said, I think for this language, we need a P before B. No, nobody planned it. In fact, English grew, but it was influenced by different countries because different countries conquered England through history. Not modern history, right? We're not talking about World War I and II, where Hitler wanted to conquer England. We're talking about Middle Ages. The Romans conquered and controlled England, for example. The Romans. And the Romans spoke Latin, similar to modern-day Spanish. They conquered England, right? And they mixed Latin language with English. So Latin grammar rules, Latin spelling rules mixed with existing English. Later on, the French invaded and mixed French spelling rules and French grammar rules into the English. And then, you know, other people like the Germanic tribes, the Anglo-Saxons, invaded England, conquered the country, mixed German grammar, German spelling in to the English language. And then when they left, the language was still there. English is not a pure language. Nobody sat down and designed it. So nobody sat down and said, I think we need silent P's before our B's because it has a special reason. No. I think this word probably grew from two different words. berries, right? Because berries are on the trees, and there's a whole bunch of types. And they encountered this one with these little pointy things on them. Do you guys know what raspberries are? They're little red things, and they have these little fur, like little hairs, right? So when they saw that, we know it's a berry. What do we call it? Well, maybe these reminded them of a rasp. And a rasp is, I think, is like a little shaver, right, that scratches cheese and turns cheese into dust. I think in the old days, people also wash clothing on a rasp. It's scratchy. And sometimes when we have like a problem with our throat, I've got a cold, my voice is raspy. We describe the voice as raspy. It's not smooth. It's not smooth and buttery. It's raspy, scratchy. So they looked at this berry, they knew it's a berry, and they said, what do we call it? Well, these little things make it scratchy. Reminds me of a rasp. So they probably combined this word and that word, and that's why there's a P, because it's part of the word rasp. Maybe somebody could look up the word rasp in the dictionary and find out exactly what the hell a rasp is, but they're using a rasp and a berry. And by the way, guys, a rasp is a noun and a berry is a noun. And I said on the last show that the noun plus noun structure is very common in English. And it's so common, sometimes the words two nouns, like the first one is used as an adjective. The example is things like coffee cup, right? Tea cup, computer mouse, noun plus noun. And the first one acts like an adjective. Sometimes if a word is so common, it becomes one word. It's called a compound noun. So I think, Wacko, that this is what happened in the case of raspberry. They described the berry as kind of rasp-like and kept the P. Okay? Remember, guys, English was not designed, so it's not perfect. This is one of the reasons it's challenging to learn. There are rules, exceptions to rules, and then there are clashing grammar systems and spelling systems, as we saw. This is because there's different languages in there, all mixed up. So that's what I would say about that. I hope that answers your question. The next thing I want to do, guys. Before we get to our guest, Tirith is saying it's extremely cold here in Nepal. We talked to Wako about her question. K for knock. Yeah, that's, again, knock. I think these are Germanic spellings. Anyway, what I'd like to do now, guys, is introduce my guest for today. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to get my headphones on. My guest is an educator in Toronto, Canada. And I'm going to talk to her tonight about her experience as a teacher, her journey as a teacher. We'll talk about the past, we'll talk about the pandemic period, and we'll talk about the future of education as she sees it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Maha Khan from English O Canada. And I hope you'll learn a lot from her, and go to her website, her Facebook page, and find out all about her. So let's switch over and bring Maha onto the show, please.
Hi, Paul. How's it going?
Very good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. This is my first time on Restream, and it's pretty interesting.
It's a good app. I actually started using not StreamYard, but Be Live.
Be Live.
But what I found was it wouldn't play high definition 1080p camera. So Restream does, and Restream can stream to a whole bunch of different platforms at the same time, including Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, Periscope, dozens. In fact, there's no limit. Twitch, for example, is a video game app platform. I don't use that, so I don't have any connections there, but I'm focusing on Facebook and YouTube. But I'm also trying to get in on LinkedIn. Apparently with LinkedIn, you have to apply to them, give them some examples. But I'm a big fan of Restream. So far, I really like it.
Yeah, you can actually on LinkedIn, if you can create a company page. I don't know if you've done that or
No,
not. Yeah, so if you have a LinkedIn profile, you can actually have a company page, and that allows you to connect to a lot of people who are looking for teachers and tutors, and I can definitely fill you in on that one.
would you mind? Yeah, I'd like to do that. I know that there's a great deal of potential with LinkedIn, but it's one of those things where, you know, your bandwidth and your time is limited and you just haven't gotten to it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about that later.
Sure.
Anyways, let's introduce you to the group. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's say how you became a teacher first.
Oh, that was a complete accident. Something that I was not planning on doing at all, like whatsoever, not in a million years. My mom's a teacher, and I have a lot of family members who are teachers as well. So I was just like, this is one thing I'm never going to pick up as a profession because it just wasn't me. Um, I traveled to the US in 1995, and I went to a little city called Rhode Island. Coming from Dubai, Rhode Island literally was a village. I got bored the second day, I believe, and my aunt suggested that I go and volunteer at a state school. And I volunteered at that school for 6 months, and I fell in love with the fact that I was, with kids who looked up to me, and they learned a lot. And all the love that they gave me made me decide that, okay, maybe this is something that I can try, and
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
Yeah, I think that's a great motivator. That's what I found. I didn't go into teaching with that in mind, but that's the result that surprised me the most and that really motivated me the most. It's just the appreciation you get from students.
Oh, yeah.
And the love, the appreciation. It's really amazing.
It is. It is. And then I continued teaching the elementary grades for I think about 15, 20 years.
Okay.
And living in Dubai, I was like, okay, I need to professionally develop myself. So I came across CELTA, which is the Certificate of English Language Teaching to Adults. And there was an institution called the International House that was offering it. The British Council wasn't at that time. So I got myself a CELTA, and the next thing I know, I was hooked on with the British Council. And then I realized that when I walk into a classroom and they're all adults, they're my age, older than me, or a little bit younger than me, the appreciation that I get from them is very different from the one that I got from the kids. So it's been now 15 years that I've been teaching adults as well. And it's amazing. So I need my kids in the morning, and I need the group of the older, I would say, audience in the evenings. That gives me a kick.
What is that difference in the response you get between the children and the adult students? Can you describe that?
The children look up to you. So do the adults. I'm not saying they don't, but the children don't question you as much, but the adults do. Yeah. And when they question you, they want to challenge you. So they'll look you in the eye and they go like, no, you're younger than me. You don't know what I'm asking you, or you don't know what we're talking about. So it's just the challenge that you have with them. It's the same challenge that you have with the kids as well, because you're not really sure if they're actually picking on, whatever you're delivering to them. But with kids in a school, you have 10 months until you see the results. Whereas for the adults, you've got about 3 weeks, I would say.
Okay. They're like goal oriented, and you can see the result.
Yes.
A little more clearly.
Oh, yes. Because, with the kids, you're following a curriculum, right? That takes a year for you to complete. Whereas for the adults, it's not a year-long curriculum. So if they're the elementary level, in 36 weeks, they can be ready at a pre-int. And then 36 weeks later, they can be ready for an intermediate and the advanced and so on and so forth. And it's a very different experience when you compare the both.
Maha, someone's asking you a question here, which is more difficult, kids or adult? I assume they mean difficult for you. What would you say to that?
No, they're not difficult.
Yeah.
No. It's with kids, you need a lot of energy because you have to keep moving around. You have to sing songs to them. You have to play with them. And there's a lot of things that you have to come up with, like teaching aids and resources and things like that. Whereas for the adults, it's a different type of energy that you're spending, because everybody comes from a different background. Now, with kids, especially if they are either first language speakers or second language speakers, because they're like sponges, they absorb more. So you're teaching them. Whereas for the adults, you're actually teaching them, you're basically teaching them to unlearn what they've learned and then start fresh. So I think that becomes a little tough because, they come from different cultures, different backgrounds. They learn in different ways. They understand English or a language differently than the kids do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to be naming countries here, but for instance, I can. People from Iran, for instance, or from Russia, their own languages are pretty tough. They're not easy languages, and they have to learn the grammar in a certain manner, right? So when they come to an English class, they expect you to give them only grammar, and they want to know everything that's in it. So they're not concerned about, hey, can we be, are we going to be able to speak in a month? They're like, no, just give us the rules and we'll figure it out. It doesn't work like that all the time. Yeah, rules are good, but it doesn't work all the time. So depending on where they're coming from, their backgrounds, you as an international teacher or a tutor needs to understand what their culture is. And I think this is what you were talking about earlier as well. Understanding the culture. Because if you don't understand the culture, there's no way you can go ahead with them.
You can't help them in a sort of customized way, right? And as especially when you're doing one-on-one tutoring, I think the benefit of it and the reason students should hire you and pay you is that you can customize the learning for their needs. But you're right. I think so much of it is related to how they learn, how they've been taught to learn in their culture. But isn't it wonderful as a teacher that you get to explore that? I mean, if you're a diligent, determined, open-minded teacher, you explore their culture to learn better how they learn so you can help them better.
Oh, yeah, totally. I think my experience in Dubai really helped me with that, because Dubai is a melting pot. So we have so many people from so many different countries that in a classroom, I would have people from I would say half the world. And I had to know their cultures, not because it was a requirement, but because I had to, as a teacher in front of them, to understand, who can I shake hands with? Who can I look at in the eye? Who can I ask to speak in front of the whole group? So many other things. Yeah.
We had this question a moment ago, and I want to come back in a moment to your story, but this question from Mimi, which is more difficult, kids or adult, and now we're having a question from Adam Lotus, and that is asking about the easiest way to learn English language. Here's something that I always teach my students. I teach my students, don't think about the word difficult. Get it out of your vocabulary, and get the word easy out of your vocabulary. Because here's the fact of life, and this is my sort of hard-boiled English philosophy. There's nothing easy about being an adult in this world. Everything is difficult. It's a question of accepting that and figuring out what you need to do. Learning a language is difficult. Teaching a language is difficult. But so what? I'm an adult, and I assume everything I do is going to be difficult. So I don't even worry about it. I just worry about what do I need to do. So in answer to both those questions, there's no easy way to learn a language. There's a lot of courses and a lot of teachers out there that promise you, hey, you can learn language in your sleep for $1,000 a week, or easy English in 5 days and you're fluent. Personally, I don't believe any of that. And this is my hard-boiled approach. My approach is, if you want to learn that language, if you really do, it's going to be hard work. But if you work hard, I'll work hard, and you will improve. But don't kid yourself, it's not going to be easy. So Adam, I would suggest to you, and Maha, you can agree or disagree with me, but stop thinking about finding the easiest way. Find the most effective way. Effective is the word we should focus on. What's the effective approach and what's the not effective approach? And assume it's going to be difficult. And that's okay. Walking down the street is difficult. Driving a car is difficult. Getting a job is difficult. Making money is difficult. It's all difficult. And if it's all difficult, it's easy. The question is to find out what you need to do. What's the effective way?
I agree, and I think it's the mindset is very important. So if you put your mind to learning the language without thinking if it's easy or hard, because if you
Yeah,
think it's easy, you'll be overconfident.
that's right.
If you think it's difficult, then of course you're going to struggle. So just put your mind to it. Like, well, I have to do it. You know, I
Yeah,
have
you
to
have
get
to
up
do
in the
it.
morning and get my coffee. I have
That's
to
right.
get up in the morning and get ready for work. So it's
Yeah,
something that you have to do. So it's the
yeah,
mindset that matters.
I agree. Just make it a part of your life. If you truly want it, you'll do the work. Just like if you want to lose weight or get fit, I'm sorry, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be wake up, go to the gym, put in the hours, put in the effort, and you'll see the results because it's effective. It's not going to be easy. I think what's happened is, especially in the Western countries, we've developed a culture of convenience, and we equate convenience is good. Everything convenient is good. But I think that's made us lazy. And it pulled us away from reality because the fact is reality is difficult. Surviving is difficult. We have a lot of health challenges. Sometimes your country has an earthquake. We have snow to deal with in Canada. Life is difficult, and we should learn how to live with that. We should learn the skills we need to survive in a difficult world instead of looking for the easy world. Because the only easy world is when you're a child rolling on the carpet going, "Mommy, feed me," and mommy feeds you. That's easy. Once you're an adult or even a teenager, sorry, the easy days are over.
But imagine, Paul, even as a child, okay, I mean, obviously I don't remember how it was when I was crawling, but I'm sure I was going through a trauma looking
Yeah,
at my mom telling her I need to eat food, but I can't speak to her and I can't ask her for food because
you're right.
I need to communicate just with my eyes
Yeah,
and my
that wasn't
crying.
easy either, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was probably very tough.
Yeah. So it's strange that we're always looking for this easy answer. And I think that we've been trained by our advertising culture that convenience is good, ease is good. But I don't think it's realistic. I can't think of anything that I experience in my daily life that's easy and worthwhile. Okay, for example, it's pretty easy for me to have a shower. The shower's there, I have running water. That's pretty easy. But it's not something important in my life. Teaching's important in my life, making my videos, making this show. None of this is easy. This is fun and convenient now, but I've been setting up this show all day. It's, geez, it takes me an hour to shave. So none of this is easy, but I just figure out how to do it and then do it because the result is what I'm after, not the easy feeling,
Uh-huh.
right? I
And the
want that result.
consistency. Yeah, and the consistency and the
Absolutely.
persistence.
You want to be
Yeah.
able to repeat it. You want to be able to do it every day, especially with learning this language. You've got to get after it all the time and make it a part of your life rather than how can I learn my language in 5 minutes a day? Well, 5 minutes is all you have. Devote it to the learning every day. But you're right. It's consistent. Make it a part of your life. Just like health and exercise habits have to be part of your life. Let's go back to your story, though.
Okay.
Continue with your story. Bring us up to date where you are now, the kind of work you're doing.
Okay, so I moved to Canada a couple of years ago. And like I mentioned earlier, I lived in Dubai all my life. So back in Dubai, I taught grade 2 for the longest time ever, probably for like about 20 years. And then I worked with the British Council as well, teaching English as a second language to adults. About 12 years ago, I also got certified and trained by the IELTS to teach IELTS, which was a privilege, definitely, back in the day, because there's so many people teaching IELTS, but
Yeah.
the question is, have they learned how to teach IELTS? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that difficult,
Yeah.
but getting that system and getting that organization in your head does make a difference. So when I moved to Canada here, a lot of my friends were like, "What are you going to do in Canada?" I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, you know what? I'm going to teach English." And they were quite surprised. They're like, "Why would you teach English in Canada?" And I was like, "Well, you'll be surprised how many people actually want to learn the language even here." So yes, that's what I do here as well. I am this year I'm teaching grade 3 during the day, and in the afternoons I've got my same ESL, IELTS, and CELPIP going on.
Mm-hmm.
So the life is very similar. It's just the setting has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to be in Dubai, now I'm in Toronto.
So is it safe to say that English is your second language?
I'm not really sure.
They both
To be honest.
you
Yes.
learned different languages at the same time, right?
At the
Growing up.
same time, yes. So both my parents, obviously, they spoke English at home. My mom's an
Right.
English language teacher. Half of my family is teaching English as a second language or a first language. So the way
Wow.
I learned English was not as a second language. I
Yeah.
wasn't taught the grammar.
Hmm.
I wasn't taught, well, we were told what is the past tense and the future tense and all that stuff,
Hmm.
but it wasn't something that we were tested on or examined for.
Hmm.
So it became a part of my, like, I think in English,
Yeah.
right? But then if I'm sitting with people from my country, I might think in Urdu as well. But half the time I think, well, 90% of the time I do think in English. So I don't know if I should call myself, I'm not a native speaker for sure, but I don't know if I should say English is my first language because I have two
Yeah.
first languages.
Yeah.
And then my second language would be either Arabic or it would be Farsi.
Right.
Because
So
those
you're
I'm not
you're
fluent.
multilingual.
I am kind of,
Yeah.
yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I would just mention to viewers that you and I met online, and actually the first time I ever appeared live was on your show.
Right.
When you invited me on your show, I was just preparing this live show. So you gave me my start in live streaming,
I
for
am
which I'm
so
grateful.
happy. Yes, no, I'm so happy to see you doing this
Thank
consistently.
you.
Because, I come up and I go down again, and I come up and I
Yeah.
go down again. So I'm not very consistent. It's only
Mhm.
time dependent, because I do this as a part time. But then I've seen you grow. I've seen your channel grow. I've seen
Yeah, it's
your
interesting.
groups and pages grow. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
I appreciate that. It is a lot of work, and yes, it's difficult, but it is really what I love doing. I love connecting to learners everywhere and other teachers. I really enjoy it.
Of
I
course.
want to go back to something you mentioned about IELTS,
Mhm.
because recently I've been working with a young lady who is very eager and motivated to pass the IELTS test. She's close. She's tried it several times. Because her future immigration and employment in Canada depends on it. So, highly motivated adult. And she came to me and she said, I'm really close to passing the IELTS, but it's something not clicking. And she still works with an IELTS tutor, but she wanted help with her English. And I've been working with her diligently, and she's showing a lot of improvement. But what we have done, because I'm not a licensed or certified IELTS teacher, I said, you keep working with your IELTS teacher. They will prepare you for the test way better than I can. And after having taken the test several times, she herself is an expert. I said, what I can do is break down your English proficiency and build it up again, especially with the writing. And that's what we've been doing, is just tearing away some of the problems she's encountered. And the one sort of connecting point to IELTS is that I'm using the rubric.
Mhm.
And I used it to identify her weak areas and where we want to be and how to get there. So I believe it's working for her. But there's a certain point where she also needs the sort of test strategy. She needs to do practice tests. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, how many people out there want to pass the IELTS test for various reasons.
Mhm.
Wonder if you could just touch on some of the maybe top 3 or top 2 common misconceptions or errors people have about IELTS, or something they do wrong that you could suggest an alternative to.
Right. One that I can think of right now is people think that if they use big words, they're going to get a higher band.
Yeah.
Using big words or using, great vocabulary without having the structure of the sentence, or without knowing that, okay, does this word actually fit into the sentence or the whole context for that matter?
Right.
It's not going to help, because the examiner, when they're looking at the exam paper and they're looking at the writing piece, they can feel you.
Yeah.
They feel the vibe. They
Yeah.
know how you're writing, what your writing style is, how you start up a sentence. Yes.
Can't just sprinkle magic words on it.
No, you can't do that. So a lot of people that I know, they will memorize words intentionally and unintentionally, and go like, okay, our vocabulary is great, we're going to be okay. They don't really end up with a great band score because there's no fluency in
Right.
their writing. So they forget that, okay, They think, a lot of people think that, okay, we need to be fluent in the speaking, but no, you got to be fluent in your writing as well.
Yeah.
So it's not the big words that you throw in, but it's the ideas that you throw in.
That's right.
How you tackle an opinion, how you tackle an argument, how would you tackle, an essay which is related to a comparison. So forget the big words. Don't worry about them.
Yeah. Okay.
If you have the fluency and you've got the task achieved, which is, as you know, obviously they do look at the grammar and the vocabulary, the lexical resource in that as well. But then if your vocabulary isn't that great, there aren't many words in English anyways, that you would use in a normal situation, unless you're writing a PhD thesis, you normally wouldn't use them.
That's right.
So
that's a good tip.
Leave that aside. Yeah. Don't worry about it too much. Also, do not memorize. I have come across a lot of students who've memorized how to write task 2, which is a writing piece. And I look at them, I'm like, how the hell did you memorize what to write? But they somehow do it. So they start their sentences with the exact same words.
Yeah.
The sentence starters like although, nowadays, perhaps, fortunately. And I'm just like, why are you doing that? Do you even understand the meaning of these words and in what context they should be used?
Yeah.
So stop using the formatted text style because it doesn't exist.
I was asked a question working with this IELTS student. How can I connect my sentences better? Because that was an issue for the student. And I said, well, you can use transition words like however and therefore. But if you really want to connect your ideas, you need to understand the logic of an idea, how an idea develops and progresses. Because if you write sentence after sentence after sentence that has a logical progression of the idea, you don't even need the magic transition words. The ideas take care of that. And I think what you're saying with memorizing too, if you memorize something, you can't possibly develop that specific idea per the prompt, right? It's going to be slightly off center. And like you said, the test graders, they feel that, they notice it, right? They feel a holistic response, not just parts and key words.
Yes, and also dig deep into the question. I am hopefully very soon going to be starting, how I do my Let's Have a Conversation on my page. So what I'm actually going to be doing now is looking at an IELTS task 2 and turning that into a conversation.
Okay.
So I've done a session like that already. I've actually done 2 sessions like that on my Facebook recently. And I just thought that was, a brilliant idea to have because every time I did a conversation, I'm like, hey, how's it going? How's the weather? How's Corona? And I'm getting out of idea. I'm running out of ideas myself. So I'm actually going to be targeting the IELTS task 2 questions. Then there's thousands and trillions of them, right? And bring them down on how to think before you write.
That's wonderful.
And the third thing that I can give out as a tip is know your synonyms. Very important. Let's say for the word children. And we can actually do a quick experiment over here.
Sure.
How many synonyms can you think of for the word children?
So guys out there, type in the synonyms you know for the word children. Synonyms, words that mean something similar. I always like to say that synonyms do not mean that the meaning is identical. If we have 2 words that are different, their meanings are different. Otherwise, we don't need 2 words. So guys, put some synonyms for children in the comment box. And while we're just waiting on that, Maha, I'd like to just answer a question from Mimi here about Canadians speaking French. Can we put that up? It's actually interesting because I speak to a lot of people from other countries, and they have this idea that people in Canada all speak French. Even in some movies, the one Canadian character always seems to have a French accent. I don't know, but in your experience, but when I was a kid here, it was in the 1960s and 70s when Pierre Trudeau, Justin's father, first envisioned Canada as a multicultural place. And he was dealing with Quebec wanting to separate. To politically keep the country together, he said, okay, Quebec, stay with us, and we'll make the country officially bilingual. We'll put French and English on all the labels and street signs and all that stuff. And French became mandatory in our education system. So I learned French. How?
I've lost your voice. Your sound.
No, I can't hear you. Is it me or is it you? No.
I can't hear you.
I don't know, it's me. Because, can you say something? I don't know, it's me. Because, can you say something? I don't know, it's me. Can you say something? I don't know. Can you say something? All right, guys, this is what it does happen. So technical issues. I wish I could read the comments on this stream, but I can't because I am tuned into the restream and I can't see the comments here. So what I'll do is I'm looking at the video on my YouTube as well, but I still see the comments.
How about now? Can you hear me, guys?
Now I can.
Live streaming video default. Check, check, check.
All good.
Okay, one moment. You can hear me now?
Perfect.
Now I need to find my earplugs. Always have backup batteries.
Oh, is that what happened? The batteries died?
Yeah, the microphone is powered by a small battery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just in answer to Mimi's question about French, I learned French growing up, but I never use it. Partially because most French speakers stay in one province, which is Quebec. So even though I learned French, I never use it. I don't speak it. I can understand it when I hear it or read it, but I don't use it. Most of Canada, Mimi, most of Canada, please come and visit. Most of Canada, 95% of it speaks English.
Only.
If you're going to come to Vancouver or Toronto, English, it's English. So please don't be afraid of coming to Canada if that's what you're thinking. Please come. Maha, you mentioned about your chat program, English O Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Please, if you could put the link or something in the chat box for everyone to see. I definitely want to steer our viewers towards you, where they can connect with you.
I would love to, but honestly, this is my first time on Restream. I have no
Okay.
clue how this works. I do see a little box down there that says private chat, but I believe that is a private chat. So,
where should they find you? I can do a little cut and copy and paste here. Where can they find you? On Facebook or YouTube?
they can find me both on Facebook and YouTube. It is English O Canada, as you see on my T-shirt. So English O Canada on YouTube is without space, and English O Canada on Facebook is with space.
Okay, I'm going to copy and paste the Facebook link into the chat thread. Tell me if you see it. Facebook.com/English O Canada.
Thank you.
And what was the other one?
It's the same. The YouTube is the same as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Let's go to YouTube. Can you please type English O Canada? Anyone that needs expert IELTS help, I want you guys to go to Maha for help.
Thank you very much, Paul. That's very.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
English O Canada has a particular spelling, right? Your channel?
Oh, it's just English O Canada as is.
I can't see it on YouTube for some reason.
No.
English O Canada, is there hyphens or anything?
No, there's no space actually.
Okay, no space.
No space.
Can you close the spaces? We'll find it. Even after English?
No space.
No space.
It's
One
word.
big word.
Yes.
Here we go.
Got it?
Here we go. Okay, English O Canada, here it comes into the... There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay, so Mimi is saying, I'm dying to visit Canada after Corona. This brings me to another sort of focus I want to ask you about. I mentioned earlier I've been meeting some new teachers, and you and I met during this pandemic. And for me, I'm not one who has suffered from it. I've actually enjoyed working from home, and I'm trying to stay home instead of going to work in the school I worked with before. So how have you responded to the pandemic in terms of your teaching and your projects?
Oh, I'm totally loving it. I am totally loving it because before the pandemic, so let's say the summer of 2020, was it 2020? No, 2019. I used to struggle to find time. So teaching at a school in the morning and then coming back for a 1 hour break and then going to teach at a couple of institutions that I was associated with, I struggled to find that hour slot that I could sit and speak to my viewers, my followers, and my students online. But thanks to the pandemic and because everything is happening from home, so if I get a 30-minute prep break, I know I can quickly log into my page and have a quick conversation with my students, keep the engagement going, and then log off and not have to worry about get in the car, get ready, do this and do that. So I think pandemic for teachers has been a blessing. Only the ones who are actually tech savvy.
Yeah. I've worked with a lot of teachers for whom the jump to online teaching was just a non-starter. And I feel for them because I think we'll go back to some schoolwork, but I think this is a whole door that's opened. It's never going to shut again. And I want to be one of those people like yourself who are continuing through this doorway and making the most of this, because I think this is just a great way to meet students around the world who want our help with their learning, especially the ones that can't afford to come here for the homestay experience. That's a lot of money involved with that.
Of course. And even the ones who cannot afford a private one-on-one, with a teacher from the US or from Canada or from UK, Australia, wherever it is, because it is everybody wants a native speaker to teach them, right? But they don't have the money to pay. So they go for the second option to find somebody who's a little cheaper, lives around the area, and they kind of learn the basics. But they're still struggling in their heads, like, no, we want that accent. We want that approach. It's a different approach. And as I say this, I would also like to add that not every native speaker can teach either. So
that's very true. Yes. Very true. And being a native speaker doesn't automatically mean you can teach English. That's a fallacy. But I think in a lot of countries and for a long time, there was this prevailing idea that, oh, you speak English? Come and be a teacher.
Yes. It used to be like that in Dubai as well. So there was a lot of people from the West, who would just come there and teach. I look at them and go like, no, you don't know how to teach. So it's not only just teaching the language, but it's just being in a classroom in front of students, because you have to respect them. You have to respect the fact that they're learners. So they are a step ahead of you somehow or the other, because they've come out of their comfort zone. They already know a language or two, and now they're learning a third language. Yeah. So it's the whole, again, the vibe that the teacher must have, the energies that they must have. and the acceptance levels that they should have to be in front of a classroom.
Like you said earlier, and I think this is something great teachers do, which is learn about that student, learn about their culture, learn how they learn.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have a classroom, I had this experience. If I have a classroom of 10, even 15 students, I'm going to treat them all fairly and equally in terms of marking, but I'm going to also treat them individually because they're all individuals with different goals and different stories, different strengths and weaknesses. So I want to learn about them. I want to know what their dreams are. I want to know what their culture is. I want to know how they learned in the past. Otherwise, I feel like I can't help them. So it's about respecting that person's journey enough to learn about it at least, and caring enough to help them. I mean, this is something a lot of teachers don't have, which is just a sense of empathy and care. We're not just delivering English on a plate. We're working with another person. And I saw that in you when you work with your students, and even in your regular chats. You care deeply about that they're learning and what they're learning and how they're learning. Do you feel that? Or am I just imagining it?
Oh, no. That's how it is as well. And I also, besides just looking at their backgrounds, their learning styles, their cultures, I also try to help them to see what my background is, what my culture is. Yes, I'm from Pakistan. I grew up in Dubai, so I'm kind of like a third culture kid, very confused about who I am, basically. But, bringing them on screen, it's not about just me teaching them the language. I'm giving them etiquettes of how to come on the screen, because I have some people coming, they're coming on screen, I don't want to say topless, but shirtless, or the light is not on, or they're not sitting up, they're just like in bed. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Is this what you're going to do in class? No, you got to sit up.
Or this one, I see this one a lot, like the face is down here and there's a huge empty space on top.
Yes.
Hi, Maha. Yeah, that's
exactly. So those things, and so there's obviously, because I am dealing with people from Southeast Asia, it's a very casual setting that they sit in, and they think it's okay. But then I need to tell them that, no, this is not okay.
That's not cool.
It's not culturally accepted on the online culture.
Yeah.
So you got to accept the online culture and become a part of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it. I agree 100%. It doesn't look like it. This is whiteboard. This is in my home. I'm in my home office, but look how I'm dressed. I'm dressed all up like a teacher, because this is part of my expression of respect for my students online, that I present myself as a teacher rather than dressing casually, even though I could. And yes, I'm wearing pants because I'm at home and I'm only in frame a certain amount, but it's about this online etiquette that you're talking about. I love that.
I cannot even teach in my, what do you call it? If I'm wearing slippers, house slippers, I cannot teach in them. I cannot be in my PJs, just because I'm wearing a nice top, or I usually wear my own t-shirts, but then I cannot be in my PJs.
Yeah.
Just because I'm in front of the screen. It just doesn't fit in well.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're in your persona, your work mode in a way.
Yes.
Maha, I'm getting the signal here that it's our time is up.
Okay.
So I'm going to thank you and say goodbye. Any last things you want to share with the viewers?
No, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. And I think we're doing this live session after quite a few months. So it's good to see, Paul, that you're doing so well.
Thank you.
I am really happy for you. And I keep, I hope you keep succeeding and doing well.
Thank you.
And better and better. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like a little, fumbling at times as well, because I haven't done a live in like so many months. So it does happen. But yeah, best of luck. And
thank you.
I wish all your students, best of luck for anything and everything, that you are teaching them and that they're learning. And I hope everybody can speak English eventually. Yeah.
Thank you.
But that's something that's never going to happen. So
it's our dream.
Get in touch with us.
Thank you very much, Maha, for your kind words and for joining the show. I hope we can do this again. And again, guys out there, if you need help with IELTS, Maha is an expert in this. I can help you with English, but I'm not an IELTS expert. So please check out English O Canada on YouTube and on Facebook. You can see the links in the comment thread. Maha, thank you very much.
Thank you.
we'll catch up soon, and I hope to have you on the show again. Now, I just want to say something to one of our viewers, Abir.
Mm-hmm.
Abir from Bangladesh. Thank you for joining us. Abir joins us all the time, and he wanted to come on with us tonight. Abir, sorry we run out of time, but I will have you on next week. Abir, here's the trick. If you're going to join the show like Maha is, I need you to watch from YouTube so I can send you the link through YouTube. So Abir, next week, we'll bring you on the show. But next week, Abir, please watch from YouTube if it's possible. Okay, just to summarize, guys, I'm going to say goodbye, Maha. We're going to take you off screen. So
Thank you so much.
take care.
Thank you.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
Maha. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I'm Teacher Paul. This is Hardboiled English Live. We will see you next week, Thursday night, January 21st, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's the West Coast of North America. If you need help, I'm available for private lessons. So go to my website, teacherpaulsclassroom.com. Private lessons, teacherpauls.classroom.com. You can email me from there or contact me on Facebook or YouTube. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Please take care, stay safe, keep working hard on your English, keep sending me your questions, and join us on the show with more questions. Until we see you next week, guys, thank you, take care, and keep learning English. Stay cool.